So good evening, everybody. You're welcome to this week's review with Great White FX for the July 31st to 4th of August 2028. So as always, we're going to start with the fundamental calendar. So we're going to start off with the fundamental calendar, and Monday is pretty calm. We're going to have rate news for the Aussie on Tuesday. Rate news for the pound on Thursday, and then non-farm payroll on Friday. So this week is going to have movements for the Aussie dollar, the pound, and the US dollar. So with that out of the way, let's get down to our chart. So as always, we're going to start with the US 100, which is a variation for MT4 for NASDAQ 100. So if we look at this, let me hide all my joints. This still seems bullish. If we look at it across all time frames, it still has a bullish bias. But if we go into the 4-hour time frame, we can see that price is kind of like consolidating. If we put in our notations, that's what we have here is, you can see from last week, I said that price has to stay above this area. And we can see that price is now in a consolidation. So looking at this, what are we expecting this week? Most likely, if this goes above 15930, then price might continue to the upside. But we have this imbalance here. We have this imbalance here. That's this 4-hour fair value gap. We have this 4-hour fair value gap here. We have this 4-hour fair value gap, and this kind of like what looks just basically the order block, the 4-hour fair value gap. So we'll be waiting for this to come in here, something like this, then probably continue to the upside. Or on the other hand, because if we look at this, we can see that this is basically in a range. This is basically in a range. The impulse, this is an impulse, and this is just like a consolidation. So for this pair, let's keep our mics on mute. If you have a question, you can unmute and ask a question. But if you don't have, let's keep our mics on mute. So for this pair, going into the new week, you'll be looking for a move to the downside for an opportunity to continue long. Let's put our mics on mute. Let's put our mics on mute. Let's put our mics on mute, please. So this is basically what we have. So we're waiting to see if price will drop, if it will find support from any of these fair value gap structure points here and continue back to the upside. As if you look at it on the daily, price is holding. We have what you call a balanced price range, this fair value gap to this fair value gap, one candle pass, one candle pass. So as you can see, the lower part has held. So as long as this low holds, there's a possibility this might continue to go up. And if it's to continue higher, where will it likely be heading to? You have this fair value gap here on the weekly. That's where we might be seeing price try to head to for the NASDAQ. So the next one we're going to be looking at is the dollar index. Well, looking at the dollar index on the weekly seems to be in a kind of a bearish move. If we look at it, you can see that price has broken this low. If we put in our candles, we can see that this is a retracement. This is a retracement. If we go down to our daily time frame, we can see it clearly. We can see the range. So this is basically a retracement. But if we look at where price is now, price is at a fair value gap. If you go into the weekly, where price is now is the consequent encroachment of this fair value gap to this fair value gap. Something like, let me use this, from this high to this low. We can see that price just got to the consequent encroachment and closed below it. So going into this new week, what are we likely to expect on price? So we're going to go down to our 4-hour time frame now. The possibility exists that this may still rally because this is our dealing range for now. This point to this point, that's this high to this low. This is the area most important to us. And if we look at it on the weekly, there's an bearish order block at this point. Let's go to the daily time frame. Go to the daily time frame, it becomes a little bit clearer. The order block on the daily starts from further up here. So for this pair, if this pair is to go down, it may first rally. It might rally first into any of these levels, and if it gets rejected, as you can see, this fair value gap here has been mitigated by price and has retraced. So we'll be watching this bullish order block here. This bullish order block. So you'll be expecting something like this here. This other block has to hold. Then something like this. Then for a continuation to this upside on price. As if price is to drop first. But I believe if we look at the range setup on price, on the 4-hour, this is still tilting to the downside. So this might just rally up into here, fill here, gets rejected, then probably move lower. That's what we're looking at going into next week on the 4-hour time frame. A rally, then a rejection, then probably a move lower. Then the next paper we're going to look at is EURUSD. Looking at the EURUSD on the daily, if we look at this from the long-term perspective, from this high to this low, price just retraced to very close to the 62% and is currently sitting above the equilibrium of the entire range.
Yes. Everybody's shining.
Mr. Gibbs, can you put your mic on mute, please? I don't want to remove you from the class, please. Put your mic on mute, please. So we're looking at this now. You can see that on the higher time frame, this is a retracement into this down move. But if we come down into the daily time frame, this is our dealing range on the daily time frame from this point to this point. And if we look at price has dipped very low into that level, we have this holding here. So if we now drop into the 4-hour time frame, we can see that we have a bearish kind of situation on the 4-hour time frame. So this might rally. It might retrace to filling any of these fair value gaps. It has already filled this. So if it drops, there's a fair value gap here. There's a bullish fair value gap here. So if price drops, find support here. You'll be watching it to come in here. And if it gets rejected from this bearish order block, then we may see price sweep because we have equal lows here. We have equal lows here. So we may see price sweep this place going into the new week. So for this new week going in, you'll be waiting to see what price does at this bearish fair value gap there. Rejection there, then you look for a short opportunity targeting 1.0942 going into the new week because the setup on the 4-hour time frame is looking bearish. Price is not making new highs. So the next one we're going to be looking at is GBPUSD. Looking at the GBPUSD, Let's look at it from the weekly time frame. This still is looking a little bit tilted to the upside. The correction from this point to this point is still in play. It's still in play for now. If we drop to the daily time frame, we can see that these are dealing range 1.2591 to 1.3145 on the daily. If we go down to the 4-hour time frame, this is just basically what we have on the 4-hour time frame. So we can see that price has broken this low. Price first dipped into this 4-hour bullish order block and there was a bounce, but it wasn't so high. Then price dropped, taking out this low into this place. So looking at this, I have a feeling that this may still move lower, but we might see something like this first, a sweep of this high, probably fill this fair value gap, then something like this. Because we have rate news on this pair on Thursday. So it may rally first, peak liquidity here, because we have a bearish order block here. This order block might not hold because there's a fair value gap above it. So it may sweep it, go into this fair value gap, then create a structure, then move lower to the downside. So for this, we'll be looking for sell opportunities above this 1.2995 for a continuation to the downside. Because I believe price, because we have what looks like equal lows here. So price may be coming for this level going into the new week. The next way we're going to be looking at is gold. Hello, can you guys still hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Okay, so next way we're going to be looking at is gold. If we look at gold from the weekly time frame, let's look at what range we're looking at. You can see that this is still looking slightly tilted to the upside. If we drop to the daily time frame, we'll see that after price swept this high, it has been retracing. So on gold, we have a what looks like like an inversion fair value gap or something like that. So we can see that price dropped into this level. Let's go down to the 4-hour time frame. So on the 4-hour time frame, we can see that we have what looks like a bearish situation on gold. And see price has taken out 1952 and 1945. So for this pair, we'll be watching to see what price does within this fair value gap. It might rally or close it and then drop. Coming. We have this bullish, unmitigated bullish order block, and it has a fair value gap. It hasn't been mitigated. So you can see, so this might be a draw on liquidity going into this new week. So for this pair, you'll be watching to see if price drops and finds support at this little bullish order block here. Then if it rallies into this place, into this bullish fair value gap here and gets rejected, then we might see price come to sweep here, probably into this level here. That's coming at 1.3957. The next way we're going to be looking at is EURGBP. EURGBP, if we look at the EURGBP from the weekly, it still looks bearish. If we look at it from the daily, we're just looking at the range. Well, on the daily, there seems to be a breakout of a sort here. We have this low, we have this high, this and this. But if we go to the candles, there was a body close above this 86.58, but it wasn't so strong here. Now, if we look at where price is now, price is sitting within this bullish order block here. The bullish order block hasn't been broken. So going into the new week, there's a possibility this may rally. So if we go down now to our 4-hour time frame, you can see that price is setting up As long as price stays above this daily, this other block here, that's between this low and this point, there's a possibility we might see a rally because we already have a bullish situation, a bullish breaker in play. There's a bullish breaker in play. So we might see maybe going into the new week, maybe one more sweep below this level and then a rally. But for this pair, where it is now, I anticipate a rally on this pair, probably maybe this fair value gap or maybe even higher. But given the formation from the daily, this may still rally going into the new week. So the next pair we're going to be looking at is a GBPCHF. This pair is just basically in a range. It's not going anywhere for now. It's not going anywhere for now. If you look at price, we can basically see that price is almost within the body of this candle, this high and this point. So this is just basically what we have on GBPCHF. So two options: either price breaks out of this range, something like this, then rallies up to this place. That's just the most plausible situation. But for now, this price is bearish and it's in a consolidation. But if it gets rejected from this range, because we have this is a daily time frame, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 candles within this body. So what you would note is that whichever direction this range breaks, you just this range is 131 pips. So in either direction, if it breaks and you take the long, your first target is going to be 1259 before the high at 1.1323. If it breaks to the downside, you also do the opposite. If it breaks to the downside. So that's just basically what we have on GBPCHF. The pair is in a range. So you wait for breakout on either side of the range. So the next pair we're going to be looking at is the pound yen. Looking at the pound yen was in a range as well. It has broken out of its range. And see a sharp break, returning to the range. So where price is now for this pair, this is the formation we have on it. You can see. So there's a sharp retracement here. Price is within. We'll be watching this. You'll be watching this bearish order block. But on the other hand, the possibility is that price may spike this high before dropping. But for now, this pair is bearish. You'll be looking for rallies to sell into. You'll be looking for rallies to sell into on this pair. Then the next pair is the last, but not the least, is the Euro Yen. Euro Yen, also the same thing. Where price is now, price is at a 4-hour, can see, break below all these liquidity levels and a sharp, can see price fill this fair value gap to the T. So now looking at price, we have the only major unmitigated fair value gap is this here. Knowing this pair, there's a possibility it can rally up to here, fill here, then we might see a continuation to the downside. So for the Euro Yen, you'll be looking for rallies to sell into. You'll be looking for rallies to sell into as long as price stays below 158.04. Do I have any questions? Any question on any pair? Maybe any pair somebody will want me to look at that I didn't touch before we call it a night.
Bitcoin.
BTC. Now that is going to be something interesting. Interesting. Now let's look at BTC. So we're going to start from the monthly. Start from the monthly on BTC. What range are we looking at? Okay, is what we have. We drop down to the weekly. If we look at the weekly on this pair, since price is in a retracement, yep, price is in a retracement. There's a big fair value gap here. If we go to the daily time frame, look at the daily time frame, there was a range. This pair is going to go down. It's going to go down. High, low, higher high, break. Any rally on this BTC is going to be an opportunity to short. And if it's going to short, you have all this here. So basically, for this BTC, this is your daily range on the daily time frame. These are the levels you need to pay attention to now. 31,850, 24,777. These are your levels. This is just your dealing range now. And out of that dealing range, we can see that 31,500, there's no close above it. All buy side has been swept. And now you have a close below 29,500. So you have a breaker here. You have a bearish breaker. So any rally on this pair, if this pair is going to rally on the daily, this is the daily time frame, you have what looks like equal highs here. So if you want to short this pair, you'll be looking at 34.4. And if you're going to take a short, where would your target going to be? You have this fair value gap here. You have this fair value gap here, which also corresponds to here, somewhere down here. Or basically, you take your flip, because if you want to go long on this pair, you need to be targeting the 50%. Below the 50% to be better. So if you want to, if this rejects from here, your first take profit is going to be 28,313, then 27,464. From 27,464, you'll be looking for long opportunities, because this might still retrace a bit to the upside. Might still retrace a bit to the upside. Might still retrace a bit. I don't trade this, but like somebody requested, as long as 24,777 holds, this might still go for 33.70. 33.70. But if this low gives way, then you're going to see price come probably towards 22.60. So going into the new week, I don't know. The person that asked for BTC, are you an intraday trader or what? Or are you looking to buy and hold for a long term?
Intraday.
Intraday. So basically, just wait for it to sweep the highs, then you sell. If you look at it on the 1 hour, let's look at it on the 4 hour. Let's look at it on the 4 hour. Let me remove all the candles. You can basically see that it's sinking to the downside. You can see it. If you just look at the highs and the lows, there's a breaker, there's a bearish setup already on this pair. So if it's going to rally, if it's going to go lower, it will rally up to sweep all these highs first. Sweep all these highs, then drop. So going into the new week, if you can, you might take a long, watch this bullish order block, but this other block here is not going to hold. I don't think it's going to hold price, because you have a fair value gap above it. So it will sweep into it. Then if it gets rejected, then your first TP is going to be 29,065. That's if it gets rejected from here, then lastly here. But if it is a strong movement, you watch these highs here. This liquidity that price would need to move lower. Because already on this pair, there's a very setup. So you don't want to be buying this pair. You'll be safer selling into highs on this pair. So I hope I've been able to answer your question. So if you're looking at it on the 4 hour, your daily range on the 4 hour is 30, 36.8 to 28,830. That is your first daily range. So within here, you'll be looking for premium levels to sell into. And where are your premium levels? You're going to pick this point here. So you'll be looking to sell. Let me use the fib. You'll be looking to sell this pair anywhere above 29.55, probably from 29.78 upwards. And if you notice, the 70% lines up with this bearish order block and the fair value gap. So this would be a nice place to take a shot. So any other question? Is there any other pair anybody want me to look at before we call it a night? Okay, so in the absence of that, I thank everybody for taking your time to attend. I wish you all a blessed weekend and a wonderful trading week ahead. Good night, everybody.